All right, and we're back. Now we're talking our favorite subject, stigma. Yay!
Because we're never stigmatized.
Oh, yeah, no, bisexual male, never. How much discrimination have we gone through, baby?
Well, for me, the men that I date tell me to just wake up, deal with my own feelings, and divorce my wife, because that's the more fun side. And other people, literally, the straight people, basically say, but you're married. I'm like, but I'm still bisexual, but you're married. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's just, just because you like something when you get married doesn't mean you don't like it. Some people choose monogamy and choose not to participate in it, while others, choose to go ahead and have an open marriage and explore it. But the fact that want would disappear is interesting, to say the least.
They can't compute when they keep going, but you're married? Like, they can't get there?
Nope.
Yep.
They can't figure... Wow.
You got to remember, Florida is right on the Bible, right in the shining buckle of the Bible Belt. So...
No, I mean, you said it. I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have it here, too. I mean, pockets of no state is all one way, right?
No.
So, can I ask, did you always know that your desire, I mean, at puberty or whenever you started having sexual desires, did you know that you were different than what people talked about as being the mainstream? And how was that, if so?
I'll say from the time I bought my first Playboy and snuck it in my bag and brought it home and looked at it in my room, I knew I was a pervert. I knew that right off the bat. I love sex, and that was 13.
Same.
But growing up, I grew up in an all-boys Catholic, a Catholic grammar school, and then an all-boys Catholic high school. So the concept of being bisexual really wasn't even an option for me at that point, in the sense that I didn't even think about it. There was gay, and we had a few of those, very small. I'm talking about out of like 400, maybe 2. And then there was the rest of us. And
you had more. They were just lying, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably.
We have to come back to the reunion to find out.
Good. And for you, did you find out you were bi? Because, I mean, women are gorgeous. What woman doesn't like women? We're stunning.
Exactly.
But have you suffered? Like, have people, or do you just say, this is who I am? And
my first marriage was an abusive marriage. So my ex-husband did not accept it when I told him. He locked me in a closet for a day, hopefully to get it out of me. So, yeah, seriously.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's an ex.
Yeah, that's an ex.
Yes.
So, yeah. And that's why after that, I decided to stay single for 10 years. So I was single for a long time because I'm like, if you can't accept the bisexuality, and don't be expecting me to do like a little puppet show, like automatically go make out with a girl and I'm like, no, it's like, I know what I want, but I'm not going to do it on demand. And it's like, but I felt bad because in the news recently, these 2 lesbian women got beat up in London. For the same thing, that they just like,
wouldn't
on
perform.
a dance. They wouldn't perform on command. Yeah.
It must be really nice to have each other as a sort of anchor in the sea in this country, in your state. Yeah, I envy that because I have my couple of friends, but I don't have a spouse. I would love someday, hopefully soon, to find somebody to spend the rest of my years with that can be okay with who I am and as it fades in the past, who I have been, as I become something else. I worry that I never find it because, right, the stigma thing, you can say it doesn't get to you, but it does.
Oh, yeah.
Because your choices are to either lie, and then you're having to live in the closet. The LGBT community knows how that was. It doesn't work. It's going to come out in other ways. Or to try to tell the truth and suffer. I've lost friends. My family didn't speak to me for 2 years when I got outed. We talk now, but they don't support it, so we just kind of don't talk about it. They're never going to get there. I love them. They love me. It is what it is.
That's the best you can hope for some days.
I'm luckier than some. I mean, look, a lot of sex work starts from teenagers coming out of the closet and getting kicked out of their home. And they end up on the streets, and they have no other way to feed themselves other than to engage in sex work. So, again, these things are intersectional. We see in sex work, a lot of it starts with the family being unable to accept the teen for who they really are. And it's shameful. and it causes death and mayhem and all that just because people can't get there. It's painful to live in a world of stigma. It causes, you can only tell the world so often that you don't care what they think of you. It's a lie. Of course you do. We all do. And I see in sex work, girls internalizing it, that trauma, and having low self-esteem. There's plenty of academic data on this, what it does to people, and just the trauma. And even rescue workers, they further the trauma when they try to save, because then you're telling somebody they need saving, right? Yep. Instead of you could tell people they have agency. I'm happy being polyamorous. I've heard them say in polyamorous couples that one is doing it for the other to try to keep them happy. And I think that's so dismissive and so fucked up, right? That you couldn't possibly have agency and be okay with your choices as a person, right? Because many of us are. I'm okay. Don't tell me what's not okay for me, right?
Exactly.
So, but it's so hard. Yeah.
And usually what we tell a lot of couples that we coach, it's like there is no set, formula. It's whatever works for you and whatever's acceptable. And that's what you need to work with. And that's how you get rid of a lot of stigma, because you're not going to be the same as Paul and Mary when you have Jack, Jill, and Jerry all together. So,
yeah, there's a lot of, polyamory is not a monolith, right? There's different. Yeah, I've heard it's incredibly diverse within, right?
Mm-hmm. So many different layers, because even in polyamory, some people are swingers, some people are into BDSM, some people are into power exchange. There's so many different layers in the kink community of how to make the relationship work, which is like a big stigma, because they're just like, but it's supposed to be like this, A, B, and C. And I'm like, no, it could be A through Z and more. It all depends on how you work it and how you do it, because polyamory is relationships based on emotions. Doesn't necessarily have to be physical, because I know someone who has 13 polyamory partners there, and a couple of them are not sexual. They're just emotional connection.
Oh, that's sort of nice. It's easily as intimate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think polyamory and BDSM have a lot to teach about the path sex work activism would like to be on in fighting stigma, because polyamory and BDSM are so very evolved about consent, right? Mm-hmm. There's a willingness, because you have to be. When you're asking somebody, here's my stuff, this is what I want, do you like me? You have to get very clear on consent. Certainly BDSM, right? You're caning somebody. You better understand what's cool and what's not cool. And I think they are at the very edge of getting more honest via consent and via, I've been to dungeons, and it's wonderful that you talk about your hard limits and your soft limits. And I wish that could sort of happen in a lot of areas of life, right?
Yes.
And with the knowledge that they can change. You can want something different. And they've sort of, I don't know how the BDSM community did it, where they just jumped out of the box and said, hey, this is us. Maybe because they don't have the legal fight, so they're able to.
We do, but we can, because I'm very heavy into BDSM, impact play, fire play, stuff like that. And the stuff we do is inherently dangerous in some aspects of it. And there was a case up in Ohio where a nosy neighbor called the police because they heard, ruckus next door. The cops came. The wife answered the door, the husband behind her, and said, oh, no, we were just having a scene. He bruised my butt and flogged me or whatever. And they said, okay, and arrested him. Because in Ohio at that time, you cannot consent to being hit.
There's several states like that have that law. You cannot consent to being hit.
So
they don't believe it's real consent? Or?
No.
It doesn't matter.
Even if you consent, they believe you consented. It's not.
You just can't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's laws like that I know are in some states, not a lot, thankfully, but we've had to become very apprised of the law that when I go traveling, I go on vacation somewhere, I have to curtail what I do because it may not be legal in that state now.
Right. Wow. Cannot consent to being hit. I don't understand how that law got. Okay, I'll have to read about that, because that seems insane.
Yeah, there's a lot
that denies people their agency.
Yep.
Much like in sex work, assuming all, especially female sex workers, are all victims. It denies, it infantilizes and desires the spankee or the canee. I've asked to be caned. I liked it. I knew exactly what I was asking for. I've caned other people. They knew what they wanted, right? I mean, I reject that completely, that you cannot consent to being hit. That's wrong. Is that law is off the books now, I hope?
No, it's in the process of being looked at and reviewed, because the National Coalition of Sexual Freedom, that's what they do. As an organization, they look to fight laws like that, to have a lot more consent, and also have a written law of what consent is, because it's different from state to state too. So they're trying to make it into a national, this is what it is, this is what it says.
Good. Well, I hope they keep up the fight. Yeah, it seems that's so strange that people can't see that somebody might like something different than you. Why is that so hard for us as humans? Why do we judge so much?
Because
I like to think,
so we make things bipolar, just like our government does. It's right or wrong. This is the
black or
right
white,
way.
Republican,
Yep.
Democrat.
And there's so many levels of gray. Not that I'm quoting that book ever.
It was badly written, just badly written. Which is probably why it was so popular, because it was like a third grade reading level. But I watched the movie. I only watched the movie. It was terrible, but they were both gorgeous, so yes, I didn't mind. I didn't mind just looking at them because they were both super hot. Why not? It was not in my Citizen Kane. You what? Wait, what?
I got kicked out of the movie theater because I was laughing so hard.
Oh, nice. Because it was obviously rubbish, right? The dialogue alone.
Oh, yeah.
Like
the whole everything. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is like, it should be classified as a comedy romance movie, not like a drama.
Right?
Yes.
Right? Rubbish. Well, but that's the race to the bottom in entertainment, right? That's probably why it appealed to the masses, because it was so like a milk toast, right?
As much as I hate it's open the conversation. So when people
good.
Yeah, when people see that I have a flogger on my wall, or I have a picture of me and I'm in a kilt and a top hat and I'm flogging someone, it's no longer, God, what are you doing? They're like, oh, okay, you're into that.
I guarantee a lot of women are like, hey, what's that? And men. Well, and yeah, I've met men over the years who are very bi-curious, and they're so stuck in what you coined earlier, toxic masculinity, that some of them pitifully will never go ahead and let themselves live and enjoy that, because they can't get there. And they're still in a box that's not, they shouldn't, and it's unavailable to them. And I find that heartbreaking, because, sexual desire is fluid. We all know that. It is for almost all animals, including us. And it's only these defined gender roles that don't let that happen. Stigma, right? And particularly for men who'd like to explore bisexuality, I think women are more permitted, right? We are sort of
it's more
allowed. Yeah, and I find that really shameful, right? Because I've seen and known a lot of men are still living in the closet about all that stuff. And I think it's terrible. I think stigma, I don't know. I'm a moral relativist, obviously. And I just wish people could enjoy the diversity of human experience and human desire. But they don't seem to quite be able to. They want what is easy to understand. And I find that such a boring world, right? It's so boring when when there's a lack of diversity. But we have that dark side, which likes to judge, right? I hate that sex workers are sort of these disposable victims. I hate that killing hookers is a joke. The CDC estimates there's 1 million sex workers in the U.S. at any given time. So that's what? 1 out of every 150 women or so? That's a lot of people. So most people probably know a sex worker, even if they don't know it. And it's not funny to talk about killing them because you don't like it that, women might want to fuck on their own terms, and that women might not be saintly and virginal. It's not funny to talk about killing people for that.
No, of course not. And actually wasn't until we've interviewed a few call girls that the police came up and they talked about their experiences in dealing with the police. How, because they're dressed this way, because they're doing this, they're immediately dismissed. They're immediately not believed. And when they go ahead and report a rape, we know someone who was arrested for it because they came at her saying, well, why were you there? Why didn't you know this guy? All this stuff, and turned the blame on her, not the rapist. And that's so backwards.
Well, it's fear-based also. If you can say that she brought it on herself, then you can say it wouldn't happen to me because I don't do it. Women do that. When you are a victim of rape, a lot of women, your own friends, your own colleagues, will start saying, well, what did you do? And what they're trying to do is feel safer in their own mind, that if you did something that caused this, then another woman, I'm safe because I wouldn't do that, and therefore what happened to her won't happen to me. So it's sort of a very animal thing of attacking the weak wolf in the pack, because then it won't happen to me, right?
Right.
It's disgusting.
And what gets me aggravated also with that, because our daughter is a survivor, sex abuse survivor. And when we were at the child advocacy office, I saw a 7-year-old girl being ripped apart with those same words by her grandmother. And we're in Florida. It is hot as hell here. And she was wearing a tank top and shorts. And her grandmother said, because you wore that is because that's what happened to you, that you were sexually abused because of that. She was 7 years old. She cannot buy her own clothes. It is hot here. So that's where I when I hear that with women saying that to other women, I'm like, no, you always say that to everybody, because that girl was only 7 and she was sexually assaulted being in the hot Florida weather wearing the same exact outfit an adult was wearing.
You should be able to wear whatever you want, and people should still control their genitals and not rape you. If you walk down the street naked, you're still not supposed to be raped. And her grandmother learned that. Somebody told her grandmother that, right? So this is what her grandmother believes. Mm-hmm. And it comes from a place of love. She's trying to help that 7-year-old. Cover yourself up and you'll be safe. But it's wrong, and it's hateful.
Yeah.
But the grandma's trying to use the only knowledge she has, which is if you cover yourself, you'll be safe, right?
Right.
But this is not the world. I don't think that's the world we want to live in. And I was hoping progressive society was moving toward a world where could have more pluralism, more diversity, more tolerance. You could see somebody who has a lifestyle different from your own. You could be like, okay, that's cool. Maybe I don't want to do that, but I don't care. But I don't know if we're moving that way. It seems frightening to me that we might be going the other way. I mean, we'll see, I guess. I think activism has to remain, because you have to hold the line, right? Mm-hmm. You have to hold the line. I don't want to go back in the closet. I don't want it to be the 1960s where everybody had to drink a bottle of wine just to get through the day because you could never be yourself. I don't want that world. I don't think anybody does. I hope.
I don't think so. But how are some ways that, regular vanillas or people who are not in sex work can participate and be an activist for sex workers?
Thank you. Well, if you're in one of these states that's got research studies or ballots on the measure, you can find your local legislator and call their office and ask them to support these bills. Finding your local legislator is just a matter of Googling your zip code and find your legislator. And there's websites that'll tell you who your person is. Calling their office is better than sending letters and emails. And you just say, I'm calling and I'm a resident of your district, and I'm asking you to support this bill. You can also get involved with SWOP, Sex Workers Outreach Project. There are chapters all over the world, and they often have a lot of things going on if people want to get involved. And you can speak out. You can uncloset. You can go ahead and say that you support decriminalization or legalization if you do, or get involved in the discussion. We still have free speech for now. You can, yeah. So, just going ahead and talking about it. A lot of sex workers are on social media. Get to know some. They got pictures of their kids and their dogs and their yoga and their human beings. I guarantee you probably love somebody who is or has been a sex worker. So you can get involved just by speaking out and getting to know the humanity of the different types of lifestyles that are out there. Because that will curb some of your own trepidation and your own fear. And you might find that when you share more love and less fear, the world gets really beautiful. I promise you, it really does. Fear is never, ever the way. it isn't. Oh. So yeah, look online. I would suggest talking to the SWOP. You can just Google SWOP and where you are, and you'll find a chapter. Everybody, they're on the old Instagram and the Twitter, and
they're everywhere. So. You just gotta look for them.
And speaking of that, if people wanted to follow you on Instagram and Twitter, you're out there as well?
Thanks. Yeah, come say hi. It's at Amy Taylor 1. I couldn't get the Amy Taylor. I don't know who has it.
Someone.
That's my Twitter, Amy Taylor 1, and I'm also on Instagram, Amy Taylor LA, because that's where I live. So yeah, come say hi. I'm around.
Very cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate that. Thanks for coming.
It was an honor. Thank you. Keep doing what you guys are doing. It's really, it's beautiful that you have this podcast, sharing your lifestyle. The stories need to be told. Absolutely. The humanity you're bringing, it's important.
Yes, we need to know more life.